Oh, that's like my head's right at the top of the screen there. That's cute. Good morning. Good morning. Guten Morgen. You're welcome. Here we are. Today is going to be about reviewing renewal. Reviewing the renewal. I don't know why that sounds like a mouthful, but it does. Today, our meditation was on inspiration intention setting. We're going to spend some time in that this week in the vlogs that will be coming out. We'll be revisiting. Hi, how are you, Talia? I love that you're here. So exciting to have my people up in the house. So I invite you, and actually, if anybody wants to come on live on Instagram, woo, I would be happy to have you come on and ask a question. I'm not going to put pressure on you. Talia's like, hell no, I don't want to do that. But I do want to invite you guys, ask questions, comment on the materials and things like that from the week. If you have not had a chance to look at them, that's totally fine. I'm still glad you're here. Don't feel like you have to exit stage left if you didn't go and look at all of this stuff. And so I'm going to ask you though really quick just to make sure. Natalia, can you hear me okay? Can you hear I just want to make sure. Hi Keith, how are you? Can you guys hear me okay? Would somebody give me a thumbs up like I can hear you? I just want to make sure all is well. Anyone? Please? Instagram. I have people on Instagram. I can't see anybody on Facebook yet. So I am going to speak to you. Send a request to be in my live video. Do you want to be in the live video, sir? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Keith, if you want to join me for conversation, I would love that. Okay, thank you guys. So I don't know if you know this, but you sent me a request to be in video, which I love. Like Coach Keith, if you want to come in, I would love to have you in here because it's more fun to ask questions with people live. So, but if people clam up, they go right. I think it's super fun to be in here and asking questions, but it's totally cool if you don't want to. So, if anybody has an actual question you want to join me and talk about, that's amazing. We are going to be reviewing this idea of renewal. So, I started last month, and last week we really started talking about our agreements. And our agreements are really profound things. I'm doing the 4 agreements in a Yoga Nidra book club that we started last night. It's amazing. And this book has inspired so much shift and change for me personally anyway, but I love using this as a groundwork for personal development and growth. And so last night we did the first one. It was amazing as always. I just love sharing space with people doing this kind of work and in this content because it's so powerful. But I do want to say the same idea that I did this morning in meditation, and I won't revisit that entire conversation, but the idea is really that when I went to grad school, one of the most beautiful, profound things that they taught me, like right away in my class, not just me, my class, was they said to us, we know that you come to us having been told to read these books, these texts, these articles, all of this material that you're going to be asked to dive into. And in your life, you've been told that these are the experts, that this is right, like God's truth, whatever, however you want to say this, right? And so there's this tendency to sort of just go with that material and count it as something that's right. Trying to figure out how to talk. Okay, hold on. You're actually on a walk, but you'll listen. You're good, Keith, and just listen for right now. I think I have to invite you, and then there's buttons to push. It's no big. Just hang with me. And what they said to us was this, and this is a message I would send to you. You need to be discerning. And so one of the gifts they gave us was they said, we want you to actually investigate this material from your own lens. To learn that taking every single thing at face value is actually a detriment to your well-being and to your growing process. And it was something that never left me. It was the first time in my adult life someone looked at me and treated me with regard and with my own wisdom and awareness and things I was bringing to the table, and not as an expert in the articles I was reading or the books I was reading, right? But there was this very I see you validation in the teachers and the way that they approached us in our learning curve. And so it was this incredible lesson about, even in a book club, right? So even in my book club, one of the things that we're doing is we're really starting from a space of sharing space and communicating about this. And what I really want to do is encourage the people that are working with me to begin to develop their own agreements, right? So we read a good book, and I love books, and I'm such a fan, and I use them a lot for inspiration and little quotes, and that's awesome. And you are wired with your own beauty. You are wired with your own material. You're wired with your own wisdom. And so one of the things that can happen to us, and I know I've been raised this way as well. Hi, Laura. Good morning. I've been raised this way as well, is that it's sort of like we just get in the zone, we just do the things, and we just take the things that we're being taught, right, at face value. And I think that there's a real detriment to that, that our learning curve should include space for us to grow into our own awareness and our own journey of what something means to us. That's really the most powerful thing we can ever do for ourselves, is really show up and it's like, no, in my own right, what do I know to be true? And then when you're going out and you're doing research, for example, right? So in a graduate program, you have to go out and do research. It's like, I also want others to read my material knowing I have a lens. I'm always showing up with a lens. And it's not that I try to be biased or I try to do anything that's, not okay. But the reality is that we all show up that way. And so that was the message. And I think it was the unraveling for the first time in my life where someone said, you get to unravel the truth according to you. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to read somebody else's autobiography and tell them it's the truth according to Jen or anyone else, right? But what I am saying is that when we're reading something that's meant for the masses, that we want to always have our own lens in it, and hold space for that journey and that our own growing experience. And so I love Don Miguel Ruiz, Four Agreements. And again, I don't say that to dismiss him. These are incredible. These are hard. I'm going to tell you what, if you've never read this book, hot damn, it is chock full of, in this really short and sweet space, really profound knowledge. And you don't get the opportunity much to delve into the agreements as he talks about it. Okay. So if you have questions, friends, put them in the comment. Like, I am a big fan of questions and comments because I feel like that's so much more engaging for everyone who's signing in. Feel free to post anything with me and ask questions if you'd like, if you have any on the journey that you're in. That's what this is about. So free coaching, just saying, free coaching. Feel free to ask a question. So I really feel like, his first agreement is having impeccable word, living an impeccable word. And the takeaway that I have in this is the idea that we want to watch our language. We want to watch our language of what comes out our face. Why am I talking? I talked about this Gabrielle Bernstein a while ago, this idea of wait. Why am I talking? And I love that acronym. It's like, oh my gosh, that's so good. So trying to let go of control. Oh, Laura, we all are. We all are. I so feel that. And so let me come back to that, Laura, because I want to touch on that as such a common, right? It's really common feeling and experience we all have. And so impeccable word. And I call it often impeccable speech. Just, it's kind of more my lingo, not because it's right or wrong. It's just my lingo around it. And what I want you to imagine is that there's also this part that comes out the face, and then there's the part that's up in here. And I really would say, I would challenge all of us to consider that this is the most crucial. This is very important because we can sprinkle that on others, right? Our idea is that we don't really want to be sprinkling our whatever, maybe not so great magic onto people, but also that words heal, right? Our language can either heal or harm. We know this, right? Heal or harm. And so we know that to be true. And I always want to say that I think that anything that comes out our face is a reflection of this. It's a reflection of what's going on in your thoughts. And so if we never examine the thoughts, okay, that's where the struggle is going to come in. So Laura, what I would throw out there to you is trying to let go of control. Amen. Praise Jesus, sister. And what I would like to ask you to do for a moment, and you can share or not share, but I would love it if you'd be willing to, think about a story you have connected to what agreement you might have that's attached to not being able to let go. And so I want you to take a minute and I want you to delve into that in your mind. And if you're willing to share, again, if it ever gets too personal, my friends, don't ever feel like you're required. You're not required to answer anything in here, of course. You're here of your own volition. And so I invite you to say what feels like it's in your heart if it's comfortable. But I want us to look at the stories, because what happens is there's typically a story that we have in our lives that creates an agreement, which is, it means I have a should. I have a lesson about how I should be. And so that's an agreement. And some of our agreements are really wonderful and some of them are really awful. And so one of the first things I really want to do is encourage you to go in and look at the ones that don't serve, right? So I'm a big fan of cleaning house, so to speak. It's spring renewal, right? We're talking about renew this month. This is spring renewal of the mind. And so what we want to take a look at is what stories get us stuck first. because that's a huge space where we can do a lot of learning. Because eventually what we'll find is that a story leads to an agreement, leads to our behaviors, right? So it will end up dictating how we show up to the world. And that's really what I want you to start taking stock of. It's like, oh, yep, I went back in my life and here was this thing that happened and I took in this lesson. And here's the irony. Sometimes people mean to leave us with a message, and lots of times they don't mean to leave us with a message. So our journeys, right, rather than looking at it as a judgmental thing, is because we can be really harmed in the way that people interact with us and the way that they set agreements and their messages. So it might be things like you're not good enough. It might be things like you'll never make it. It always was one that broke my heart when I was working with teens years ago, was the huge number of teens that had this message because they were really struggling with mental health issues that they would never amount to anything. And I mean, like, parents said it, teachers said it, pastors said it. I mean, like, people that you'd be like, nah, like they would never, and they did. And so these people would sometimes, and unknowingly, right? Like, again, I don't think it was malicious, say these things to these kids when they were acting out. And then these kids now have this agreement. Like, I can't make it. I can't make anything of my life. I won't amount to anything. And so our agreements are big deals. They are big deals. And so we can steep in this like a tea bag, right? I always use this word steep, which means I can read, I can spend time in it, I can digest it. And I hope that you would. If it's a first run through this book, it would be a lot to do this and your agreements, but I would encourage you to spend time looking at what bumps into you when you're reading, right? What comes up for you? What agreements do you notice in life? It doesn't have to be in reading Don Miguel's book. That's one avenue. It can be anywhere. What agreements come up for you? Because they're there, friends. Your stories and your agreements are riding around with you. They're in your lens. They're in your lens, and you want to take a look at that, okay? Next week, we're going to be talking about something related to this, but I can't tell you what just yet. Let's see. You said... Natalia said, biological father leaving, probably why I am people pleaser to prevent people from leaving. I just thought of this. Yeah. Big aha. Look at you this morning. Look at you this morning. That is amazing. I wish you could hear my sound effect board, but you can't. This is me. Exactly. Exactly. So if you know that that's a story, what I would invite you to do is spend some time going back and revisiting how that plays out for you. Like, I'm always extra kind because I don't want somebody to leave. I talked about one. I'm going to share one, and I'm going to try to think about how to say this gracefully, because yesterday I said it and I think it came out like this. Every once in a while I say something and it means well and it makes sense here, and then it comes out the face and I'm like, that didn't really come out how I wanted it to. So I recently, welcome in. I'm talking about renewal, in case you're joining us now. I had an interaction with someone just recently where it was someone in a community, and I think that they had a different pace and need for the community than I did or my tribe did. And it was really unfortunate because I kept having to kind of set boundaries, right? And I, to this day, friends, feel like shit about it. I was a clinician for 20 plus years, right? I mean, doing traditional talk therapy, and it fascinates me to show up in this 46-year-old person, body and mind, having been trained, having done all the things, and still, it's so hard because I read boundary setting as unkind. I want to be kind to everybody. Right. So when you talk about people pleasing, right, Natalia, and this is where I'm going with you, honey. I'm with you. And what I'm saying is I even have one as well. And mine is tied to this idea, like, culturally, I need to be nice. Sometimes I have been too much for people. So what happens is if I get triggered in that, I'll back way off and I'll tend to kind of go into like freeze mode. And it's like, I can't do anything. I know I need to do something. I know it here. Here, it's like, oof, but I'm going to sound mean. And just setting a boundary isn't mean. And that's a cultural lesson that all of us are taking in right now. And I wish for us to unravel that piece, right? And so this is my work, right? This is just my work. We can't make everyone happy. Amen. And I know it here, Laura. I know it here. And in my best minute, right, there's still this niggling piece of my soul that's like, I'm going to come across and I'm not going to be, it's going to be seen as not kind. And that's not how it's meant. And I will guarantee you, if I have to go in and set boundaries with somebody, I'm really respectful about it. I will guarantee you. I don't know how they're receiving it, right? On that end of things, I'm on, that's not in my control, Laura. My control is not how someone hears it or reads it, but rather I can only do my best to present that in a way that is truthful and authentic to my soul. And so that's what I had to do. And I felt like garbage, and the person didn't receive it well. I mean, big old did not go well, big old goose egg. And it was something I felt like I needed to do to protect my tribe and the sacred space that we were trying to hold. And that sucks. Oh, right? I hate that. I, to this day, hate having conversations with people when I'm upset about something. And people be like, oh, you must just do that because you're a therapist. And like, you just, no. Oh my God. The only difference between me and somebody else is that I do it because I know better. There isn't a way through it except for through it. I don't say something, it's my yuckiness I'm hanging into energetically. This is me. Life is too short for that. And so I want to say that. And so just good for you for having this insight, though, about your father leaving and what that meant for you. And so I totally get it. And I know too, just to kind of leave this out there too, Natalia, is that I want to say that I had a parent who was going to exit stage left, and I know it's never left me. There is a trigger within me that I have the same thing, that it's like this fear that people will leave. And so like, if people really want to hurt me, I love that I'm telling you all this, so you're welcome. If people want to really hurt me, it's like, just shut down and go away. Because that literally is like, there is nothing that's more painful in my soul than somebody who won't show up and just, I would rather you get in my face and say, I literally can't stand you. This is what it is. I would rather that than silence. I would rather, there is nothing like having somebody not show up and talk to me about what's going on. Like nothing. I mean, truly, when I say it, like nothing, I can't think of a single thing more painful. So I have an agreement. I had an agreement for lots of years that people would leave. I had an agreement that I was afraid that I might leave. I was really scared about having children because I thought I might pass it on. I might do the same thing. And so it took me a lot of my own personal work and therapy and unraveling all of these things, those stories, those agreements, and understanding that that was fear speaking. Okay. And I think letting go, Laura, I think is also fear, right? I think it's fear-based. A lot of our stuff, if we start digging really deep, looks like fear. And I know someone last night had mentioned that as a thing too. Like there's this fear that I'm hanging on to and I'm living within that's really not serving me. And I don't want it there anymore. I don't want to live with this fear. And so I think for me, that's one of the stories again. And that's where I would encourage you to kind of go back. It's like, okay, do I have a story back there somewhere that tells me that I can't let go? Right? Why do I grip? And all of us do this. Hey, Jessica from Insight Timer will welcome in. Hi. So I want to throw that out there. And I don't know what it is. And maybe, Laura, you'd be willing to tell me what it is you feel like letting go of is hard. Like, is there an area? Is it just in general? Love your energy, lady. Keep thinking about you. Thank you. That's so sweet. I'm so glad you're here. So we're just talking about renewal. We're talking about our agreements. We're going to revisit. So this last week, I did a bunch of vlogs. They were little increments rather than a fire hose, which is typically how I've put them out there. And so I invite questions. I invite thoughts and comments about any of that. So I put out a little, there's like 3 tips for renewal. There was a little mini meditation. There was a couple really beautiful stories that I shared. So I'm not going to revisit all of that. Lots of things that, well, Laura, come on, that's a cheat answer. I'm calling you out. I'm calling you out. That's a cheat answer. I know, and me too. But tell me, give me something that doesn't feel real vulnerable. If you don't mind, it doesn't have to be the most vulnerable thing on your planet. It's good. You're good. Anyway, I want to say that if you haven't watched those vlogs, go back. They're on YouTube. They're on Instagram. They're on Facebook. So every vlog that I do, those little bits and pieces is in there. I'm going to create the next one for this week today. So then more content will be released. So I really encourage, if you want like the whole expanse of the stuff to be watching for those vlogs, that's what that is. It's building the content as we go through the month. That's why they're there. And so please feel free to go back and listen or watch if you've not. And they're Renew 1, Renew 2, Renew 3, Renew 4. So you'll see, I will count them all out so that if you're watching in order and you want to take the content in that way, you're welcome to go back and take a listen. I will probably do shorter vlogs this week. This will probably be a little bit easier. In the beginning of a month, there's a lot of content. It does feel a little bit like a fire hose, which is why I was trying to kind of break that down. So you're all like, oh my God, Jesus, I don't have 2 hours to listen, which is not 2 hours, but still, I want to invite you guys to return to that knowledge if you want to poke around in it a little bit. Dealing with injuries. So Laura's talking about it's sometimes hard to let go. It's one of her agreements, which is is beautiful that she's willing to share. I love vulnerability. I'm always really grateful for that because it creates more vulnerability in a community when we're willing to share, which is why I shared one of my most vulnerable moments. Why I did that, I don't even know, but I did. Dealing with energies, how to step back from teaching and now trying to figure out what my path is now. Yeah. Oh, purpose. I mean, I could talk about this till the cows come home. I won't, but I could. So dealing with injuries. So I'm guessing you mean physical injuries. And how to step back from teaching. And I'm going to speculate, maybe referencing yoga. Again, I don't want to make any vast assumptions. I know you and I are both certified yogis. So I don't want to make assumptions about where you're going with this, but try to figure out what your path is now. One of the things I'm going to say that's going to be really annoying to all of you is we're going to combine a couple of things here on the fly. And one would be that I would look at stories about what it means, right? So that I sent you kind of back a minute ago for letting go, like what are old stories that are kind of lingering around that tell you that it's not okay to let go. I've got a great one. I'll tell you in a minute. Joint pain. Gotcha. Okay. Thank you, sweetheart. I just wanted I wanted to be clear. So I wasn't like just guessing in the dark. What I want to say is we want to combine. There's and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, right? That we want to combine the story, get aware of the agreement, sit in that agreement, cleanse it, which is a whole nother conversation. I think I'm maybe going to add a piece on cleansing today. I'm going to write that down for this week. Maybe do a little bit of exercise, but I have cleansing stuff out there as well. So I'll see if I can circle back to that for you. And then I want you to reignite the awareness about what you feel pulled to do. And a lot of that's internal. And so it's listening. It's listening with listening with your heart. Just going to say, I'm going to write that down. Because I think we can get so in here, all of us do, up in our heads. And then what happens is we're not actually listening to the authentic piece of our souls about what we're being called to do. And I think that's one of the biggest things. When I said earlier, if you weren't in, we were talking about Don Miguel's book and the things that get in our way. We're really, all of us, kind of programmed to see the world through a certain lens, and it can really mess with us. And so I really want you to learn how to step into your own stuff, your own right, your own direction, your own compass, rather than looking, right? So there's a prescribed path for all of us yogis or all of us therapists or all of us, right? We all have these prescribed paths to live by. And what I found was that mine wasn't serving me anymore. My path I was on as a therapist, and absolutely loved it for years and years and years and years. Absolutely loved it. Loved the clients the whole time. But I was really feeling like something was totally misaligned and I had to change lanes. And so sometimes I think that's what a lot of tumult is we're needing to change lanes. And so sometimes it doesn't mean leaving a piece of our purpose, but it means shifting it. So I didn't leave my purpose, and my purpose is still to work with people. I just talk a lot about energy and purpose, and I do it in a different way. And I do a lot more teaching that's more community based than just one-on-one. And so for me, that's that I just changed lanes. I'm taking all of that experience. So I would never, Laura, say to you, you're never at a loss for moving into a new lane if that's what you're being called to do. And I'm not saying you are, but if you're getting called into a new lane, that's not an accident. There's no accidents about being called into a new lane in our lives. And so sometimes we have something come up that will kind of like kick us off course a little bit, right? And then we'll go, oh, I need to take a look at this. Like, I wonder what's happening that I'm being called in this new direction. And like, what do I need to shift and transform? You'll never leave whatever knowledge you glean. Every single step of your journey to the moment where you're sitting right now was meant for you. Even the moments where they stop feeling like they're working for us. And the moments when we have to shift, that's the call to like, oh, I got to spend some time in awareness here. What am I being asked to look at? Right? So even if you have physical pain, that's something that beyond your own scope of, let's say it's not something you did on accident, or let's say it's not something that you, whatever, right? I don't know if it's a chronic thing for you or whatever, but I want you to look at the energetics of it, right? Not just this part of it. This is important. The thoughts are important, right? We talked about how important our inside thoughts are. I also want you to look at the energetics of it, because we're carrying around energy in our bodies and cells that has information in it. And so I would really invite you into like trusting that, sitting in that, right? The letting go, the trusting of it, like, oh, there's a path here for me. There's a path here for me. And you're not asking this, but I would throw it to you, like, let's say you wanted to teach yoga, but you were like, hot damn, I've got this joint pain. Can you teach about joint pain right? Are you being called to create a space for somebody else's journey that you would have never arrived at had you not had this physical ailment? Okay, just as an example, I just write it's because it's changing lanes. I'm not moving off the map. I'm changing lanes. So does changing lanes, does transforming that journey into something that's just slightly new, is that so much better for you? And so I think that's what I invite us to do, is to, rather than getting stuck in this, I think we get really really nervous and scared that like a moment in time that's shifting us is bad. And I'm like, it's not bad, it's an invitation. It doesn't feel like an invitation. Trust me, I suffered myself in my old job like for way too long. I didn't leave. And so that's where I'm like, right? So I feel like that's really important. Okay, hold on one second here. And Keith, I saw your thing about not liking anger. So I just invited you, JG. I invited you in. I don't know, it didn't do anything. I invited you. Oh, you declined. Nobody wants to come in with me. I get it. If you do, let me know. Keith, what did you say? You said I totally hate conflict. Not sure where that came from. Even real things, because conflict, like what you do, you want to go to eat tonight. I will totally back off. Oh, like, so like having an opinion, like asserting like an opinion, Keith. Like, yeah. Okay. So, how, anybody else out there? Conflict. Oh, conflict is such a drag for so many of us. So Laura, before I switch gears, I'm helping you kind of move out of that space, right? It's like, I just want to leave this for everybody. If you're in this space, I want to leave you with, look at the story you have related to the struggle. Realize what the personal agreement is, okay? We want to cleanse it out like a wound, because if we don't take a look at it and work in it, it'll stay. And even when you cleanse it and do the work, sometimes it'll pop back in. Normal. I saw it in therapy 8 million times. Normal. As you grow and change and shift and transform, certain things will pop back in. Totally normal. We do the healing again. Don't sweat that. And then really what I want you to do always, friends, is move into the energetics of it. Like, gosh, I wonder where I'm carrying that in my body. I wonder where I carry that I can't let it go in my body. And so if you got quiet for a minute and went inward, and I would invite you to do this, Laura, if you're open to it, is if you went inward and you think of that idea, like, I cannot let go. And then listen to your body. And what I'm guessing you'll find is that there's a space in your body where you'll sense something. It's either a tingling, a little bit of a discomfort. It might even be like a pain. It could be something that's like, it's a numbness. It's a something, right? It's got a texture to it. And you're holding that somewhere. And so we want to continue to work that out. And that's by, recognizing it, number one, breathing into it, number two, and then doing some energy work around that, right? And so that might look like chakra work, that the whole thing. We will not get into that today, but you get where I'm going. And I would like to set out that path. If you're looking at an agreement and I want to unravel it and there's something that's really hanging with me, these are the steps and stages I would invite you to look at. And so Keith, same for you. It's going back in time and looking at stories, right? It's where did you get the message that conflict was bad? And we all have this. We all have this. I'm going to guarantee you. There was a moment in time where you had an experience and conflict was bad. Okay. And so I want you to invite that in, that awareness. It's really like going back all the way. Typically, what I'll be honest about in my history as a clinician is that about 7 or 8 is usually where we'll take messages in. I find if you kind of go back, and I also trained in EMDR, which I'm not going to discuss at length today, but I trained in that. And one of the things we want to do is go all the way back. And you may have something sooner by all means, but by 7 or 8, we're really starting to come into an awareness of our experiences and journeys and holding that in our bodies and our minds and memories. And so typically that's where I'll send you back. I'll be like, go back to 7 or 8, or maybe even a little bit better. And there's something that we experienced that was like, it's just easier to stay quiet. It's just easier to stay quiet. Okay. And so I want you to go back in that. And again, I would never look at you guys and say, your agreements are bad. You'll notice that I'm not saying, right? Here's what I would promote to you without judgment. This is such a yogi thing. Without judgment, I want to invite you to think about it like this. Is it serving me? Is the agreement that I'm living within, is it still serving me? Or am I finding that what once served me, and this is a big thing, friends, what once served us a long time ago, that did protect us and help take care of us, is now like not so much. Not so much. And so this is not uncommon that we'll revisit and go, oh shit, that worked a long time ago. And now here I am at 46, and my agreement that worked when I was 7 or 17 is not serving me anymore. Right? And so it's not about judgment. It's like, because I don't want, again, I think that's another way we get trapped in the cultural, right, programming. It's bad, it's right or wrong. It's, no, because here's the deal. Friends, at one point, our agreements protected us. I said this today in our meditation. I was talking about how that stuff, our hard feelings, our hard experiences, our hard thoughts often come in to protect us. And instead we get all, right, like pissed off and like get in your face and like, hey, how dare you be a negative thought or a negative belief? No, at one point they were sweetness to us. They were protecting our souls. And so they aren't bad, right? So I said, can we treat the parts of ourselves a little bit? And I said this differently because it was meditation, but like, can we treat ourselves as children, as vulnerable, sweet kids trying to work stuff out? It's a whole different lens than like, God, you adult ass, like, why can't you get this straight, right? I mean, like all of us have done this. Like, why am I revisiting the same thing again and again and again? It's okay. Make space for it. I want you to see this little kid inside of you. If you saw every person, I want you to think about this. If you went out in the world and when somebody was being a butt, right? Somebody was being rude to you or somebody was being disrespectful or whatever, and you saw them with their small child standing there in front of them. And the adults like the brute, because we got our armor on, right? Kids don't have armor like that. And we're in our brute armor and we're like, I'll get you. I'll go at you. Right? And instead we see this kid that is maybe afraid or scared or doesn't know and doesn't have that skill yet. All of a sudden we go, oh, we're all just doing the same work here, right? We're all just doing the same work. And so again, it's all the lens that we're going to use to look at these situations through that I think is so profound. And I'm hoping that that's what I would invite you to step into. Now that's with others, but it's also with you. You can use that very same window and lens of a childlike experience and journey for yourself, right? And in the song Supertramp, Give a Little Bit, which is one of my favorite songs ever. And there's one part and it says, see the man with the lonely eyes, take his hand, you'll be surprised. And the same goes for anybody else that's around you, is that the minute that we begin to embrace somebody else as a small child, or as that older person's journey, wherever they are, all of a sudden, friends, I don't have as much judgment. Isn't that funny that all of a sudden the judgment seems to fall off? And we're like, oh, if I can see the internal kid in you, if I can see the sweetness of you, if I understand that this gnarliness that's coming at me isn't really the whole of you, that's not the heart of somebody. Come on. That's not what we're made of. We're made of divinity. So when somebody's coming at you, that's not their best. That's not their best. There's really likely a kid in there somewhere that has a story that they're attached to, right? And so I invite you to use a different lens with some of these pieces of your journey and to have that compassion for others, but yourself. So when I have a story, when I have a piece of me that feels kind of stuck back in the day, and I can step into that with kindness. So all of our personal work, whether it's energy work or emotional, psychological work or whatever we're doing, invite curiosity and kindness, because that's where the most healing is going to take place. It isn't in the putting ourselves down. It isn't in judgment. That is never the space where true healing is going to take place. It's going to come from a place of love. Does that make sense to everybody? I mean, I just want to throw that out there, right? Is this a little bit different lens than the one that you're used to using with others or for yourself? And so feel free to comment. I would love to hear comments on that idea. Like, is this different than the idea and the agreement that I'm walking around with? Because most of us, if you feel this way, I do. I feel like this too myself. Like I'm walking around with some armor. It's to protect myself, so that if somebody says something, I have this, like, I can protect it. And what I realize is that if I start seeing that person as though it's not personal to me, which is another one of the 4 agreements, just saying, not to take things personally, but that's a whole nother day. If I can see it through a different lens, it's got less weight. So it's all in how I'm going to look at it and spend my time in it and my energy with it. Is like I can choose to get really ramped up and feel really personally attacked, or I can look at it and go, oh, this is just this person suffering talking to me. When somebody's being not kind, and no reason, no invitation, no whatever, and they feel attacked or they feel seen or they feel like they have to, like, aggressively find their stance, that's their hurt talking to you. That's their hurt talking to you. That's not you personally being wrong in some facet that you've invited in this kind of reaction. It's somebody's story and agreement talking to them out their face at you. Okay? Again, different lens. Anybody else with a question or comment about anything about personal agreement? This is really a big work. I'm going to keep talking about it all month. I just know it. I started on it and then I was like, ooh, this is like a really big, weighty subject. So I want to leave you guys with that idea. The trajectory of change and transformation and agreement looks like getting real clear on the story, going all the way back in time, finding the story. Then I want to go in, see where the agreement is. What agreement did I make for myself to protect myself and my sweetheart? And then now I want to cleanse it. I want to go in and go, oh, is this working for me anymore? Is this still working? Is this energy that I'm carrying around? Is it successful? Or am I finding this is actually kicking my ass, right? Is this kicking my ass? I had this idea and once it worked and once it protected my heart and now it's not really working, okay? And then I want to step back and I go, okay, I'm going to cleanse that. Okay, I'm going to cleanse that. And then I want to set a new agreement for myself. I want to set a new agreement that's going to allow me to more successfully and fully step into my greatness, step into my purpose, step into my divinity. That's renewal. It's do over. And I can't say enough. If you're following me, you know me, and you know the Lotus, and you know what it stands for, but I'm going to tell you what, you get to start over anytime. If you got an agreement that you don't get to start over, I'm going to challenge that today. You get to start over every single day, every single breath, if it's what you need. I don't agree with that. I think we're given the opportunity to begin again and again and again, because that's what we need to do. We'll change lane and change lane and change lane because we're still working it out. We're getting it right. And we're living into our most full potential. And that's going to take some lane changes, friends. It's going to take lane changes. We won't stay in the same space forever. That doesn't make sense. That's not growing, right? So in this book, and I'm just going to read this really quick because I love this, Heart Talk by Cleo Wade. And some of my people that were in meditation have heard it, so bear with me. It won't take long to read it if I can find it. I love what she said. She said, it's only natural. Of course I've changed, darling. I've grown. Of course I've changed, darling. I've grown. It says change is necessary. It is important. And it also is what makes life exciting. Right? I don't want to stay in the same lane I was in when I was 16. Right? Do you? How about junior high or middle school? Okay, right? How about who I was in my early 20s with no idea what the hell I was doing and thinking I did? You couldn't invite me to go back. Change is important, right? Even the uncomfortable stuff. And so it says, when we fear change, it keeps us in an energy of feeling stuck, powerless, and resentful. But when we embrace change, we open ourselves to the understanding that anything is possible. Life is not supposed to stay the same. We are not supposed to stay the same. Our life, our communities, and our world are always in bloom. How beautiful is that? Perfect time of the season, right? I love this. I'm going to say it one more time. Our life, communities, and world are always in bloom. Hot diggity dog. I love it. When we understand this, we see that change is growth, and growth is essential for each of us to reach our individual and collective potential, right? That's all I'm inviting you in to do. It isn't to judge yourself. It isn't to be hard on yourself. It's to say, I'm going to make room to be different so that I can keep growing into the very best version of myself that I was always meant to be, right? And you got stuff. I got stuff. We all got stuff. There's moments where we're killing it at life and we're able to step into challenge and see it for what it is and gracefully move through that. And there's times we're going to feel like we're getting dragged behind a truck and we're on gravel. No less, right? We've all been there. There's just going to be stages that are just going to feel much more clunky than others. But I just really want to invite you into that. I want to invite you into the renewal. This whole month is about renewing. This whole month has kicked off with something really incredible in terms of the agreements that we have with ourselves. There's great resources out there. And what I really want to encourage you to do is when you want to dig into some quotes or you want to listen to somebody, even me, and you're taking information in, and what I really want you to do is make sure that if you do me one solid, it's that you make sure you're looking for your own. Okay. Don Miguel Ruiz, an expert in his version of agreements, and they are brilliant. Okay. But Don Miguel didn't show up at your house and be an expert in your agreements, because Don Miguel doesn't know your story. You do. And so I really want to be super clear that if one thing you take from our live chat today is I get to create my own personal agreements, I don't have to stay in the ones that don't serve. I get the right to change lanes. I get the right to let go. I get the right to face feeling abandoned and worried about what happens and to be a pleaser, which is a super common phrase and experience that I hear so many women speak to, like so many. I've had it. I've struggled to let go. There's nothing in here that anyone has said. I struggle not to I don't like conflict, right? Like Keith said, right? So I really want you to think about there's nothing that doesn't apply to me. There's nothing anyone in here that has said that I've like, yep, been there. Been there. It's our journey for all of us. This isn't something for the weird or the broken or strange. This is what we're doing. But I invite you into looking at your own too. So get some guidelines, do some reading, do some growth, be in community. Be in community. But I also want to say, create your own. You get to create your own agreements. You get to use structure to springboard from, and then from there, my friends, fly. Don't wait for somebody else to tell you how to do it. That's not, no. You are the expert in you, right? So that's what I would invite you to do today. So again, if you want to go back, listen to the vlogs, there's a mini meditation, there's a whole bunch of content, blah, blah, blah. Feel free to go back. Feel free to go back. 1 through 4 was last week. I'll start with this week, 5 through whatever, Lord knows, depending on how it all breaks down. I will have some more vlogs that are all related to this renewal content. Hang with me. Praise Jesus. Namaste. I'm grateful you're here. One last announcement I want to share with you guys. Sorry, Spring and Tickly Nose here. I have a really exciting guest speaker this week in Instagram. I'm super stoked about this. Justin Fairman was an Insight Timer in doing a talk on flow, and I caught his conversation and I listened to the whole thing. It's about an hour and a half long. Justin Fairman, and it's Faerman. It's in my stories, was. And I posted about him. I'll post about it again. I am so blessed, as are you, that he is going to come live with me on Thursday on Instagram talking with us about flow. And if anybody was with me last month, that was the entire month of content was flow. And so when I ran into his talk, not an accident, wink, I loved what he had to say. And then I was really nervous, but I got my brave pants on and I sent him a message and I'm like, hey, I love what you had to say. Would you be willing to come on Instagram with me? I'm like, this guy's going to be like, girl, I got enough going on. No, he was totally gracious about it. He was like, yes, I would be happy to come and speak with you. So this Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, he is on Pacific. That's 1 o'clock Pacific time, 3 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock Eastern. If you're out of the country, namaste, you don't want me to do the math for you. He's going to be with us on Thursday talking about flow a bit and then answering questions. I would love it if my tribe would show up over there for him to greet him and make him feel welcome and to ask him some really engaging questions, because his stuff is money. So if between now and then you want to go catch him on Insight Timer and listen to his conversation, it's Justin Fairman, Faerman. And again, he'll be with us live in Instagram. I'm sorry, they sound the same. Live in Instagram this week. Come and join us on Thursday and listen to what he has to say. I will guarantee you're going to take something away. I took like 5 pages of notes listening to his talk, legit. I was so impressed. And so you can even look him up and like you'll find he's got talks and stuff on YouTube and he's out there doing stuff. But he's an incredible person and he is such a great guide for how some of those steps and ways we can live in greater flow. And so I can't wait for him to share this content with you guys in our community. And so bring it, come on in and join us and ask some questions of him, engage him, because I know he's so open and passionate about this subject that he's going to do it a serious solid. So I hope you'll join us on Thursday. From time to time, I will be having guest speakers come in. I'm guessing it'll probably mostly be Thursdays, but we'll see. We'll see. It might change around, but I will always tell you. So it's always going to be posted somewhere, who it is, what they're talking about, and then the time and day. So you'll always know. please come join us. And like I said, be part of the tribe, support Hold Space, ask him questions. I know he's passionate about this. And so it's going to be one of those fun things to watch somebody really living into what they're like really lit up about, because this is his jam. And so trust me, you're going to be engaged. You're going to learn some things, and he's so, so kind. And so I'm super stoked to have him. Please come and join us live Instagram this Thursday, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Okay, that's my time. So please come join us and listen in and follow him. He's so smart and so kind and got so much good information. So go give him a follow. And then come back here next Monday. Next Monday, I'm going to toss out some blogs again this week. The vlog will come out, little nuggets and pieces. You can take in little parts. And then Monday again, we'll revisit again. So it's like each week, and then we'll kind of simmer and steep in the material on Mondays and give you guys an opportunity to hop in if you guys want to come in live and talk through something. I love that. I know it's a little vulnerable and scary. I welcome you in. Don't be afraid. I will hold space for that. And so I invite you to do that if that's something you'd like to do. But I also really want it to be a space where we can like keep chewing through and digesting the content from the previous week. And so taking that in, then when you show up, it's like, oh yeah, that's right. I did the thing, or I had this thing. And then that's where the questions too. One, it might just be a personal question about renewal or the journey, but there might be something from the week. Like you said the story and this really resonated, or I wanted to know more about that, or could you say something more to this? Trust me, the story day is it's so good. Like, it's just so good. That's all I can say. That's really one of my favorites. But there's a freebie meditation floating out there, right? There's just freebie content I'm throwing out there to y'all. So please feel free to go find that and take a listen. It's in here. It's in my stories. It's in my page. It's on Facebook Living Out There. It's on YouTube Living Out There. So I cannot get the simulcast stuff to work. I do want to announce this. I have a best concerted effort. Good old college try. My husband and I were up in it yesterday. We could not figure it out. So why I'm saying that is I'm going to keep doing the lives on Facebook and Instagram at the same time. Then I upload to YouTube, which really sucks for the YouTube people that would like to do it live. I can't. We're working on it. I hope to get it. I have simulcasting software, and there is just not coming together. So I'm working my tail off trying to get that to come together. In the meantime, I'm going to continue with this flow, which will be live Facebook and Instagram at the same time, and then I will have to upload it to YouTube because I just can't get that whole system to come together. We're working on it. So in the meantime, I just want to give you a heads up if anybody's out there trying to follow on YouTube, which thank you if you do. I appreciate the follows on socials. I just want to throw that out there. So if you haven't, I hope you'll follow me in the formats where I am, which is Facebook and Instagram. YouTube are the three mains. I'm Insight Timer every week on Mondays doing meditations. Those meditations always correlate with this stuff that I'm talking about. Always. There's a direct link with what we're going to be talking about. So my meditation will kick the week off for the week of content of vlogging. And so all of that has steps. And so just so you know, they link right in together. And so if you're interested in taking in more or learning more, that's where all that stuff will live, is out there. So seek that out if you're interested. If you're not, that's okay too, right? You can do a one-hit wonder, stop in, do a chat, and move on about your day. But I really invite you to do that. And mostly, like I said, I would love for you guys to show up on Thursday and hold space for Justin and help me sit and communicate with him and learn some stuff about flow. I know I'll learn something. I'm like excited because I just know I've already listened to him talk. I'm going to learn a whole other thing, which like lights my soul on fire. And so I invite you over to join us for that as well on Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Get out there this week. I really encourage you to find an agreement. Like I said, find an agreement for yourself and really hone in on it. We could spend 18 years, friends, digging all of them up, cultivating with our shovels, right? All the things that don't work, all the things that feel stuck. But really what I want you to do is I really want you to pick one, okay? Our energy flowing into a space and energy of growth is going to be much more successful than if I feel like I'm tackling 10 things at once. So I would invite you into picking an area, and it's like, oh, yep, I've got an agreement there. Really dive into that, really create a new intention with it, and then take that and run with it. Throw some energy, some real energy at it. Let's not spread ourselves thin. Let's really throw energy at one thing. So that would be my challenge for you guys this week. I'm sure there'll be more as I release my vlogs, but I want to put that out there that I really encourage you. Find one, just one. Pick just one and really go into it, okay? Do some heart work in that. And if ever you have questions, that's why I am here. Feel free to bring them next Monday. Feel free to send me a message. Feel free to whatever. in one of my vlogs, if something knocks loose for you, or you're like, oh my gosh, I had this insight, this da 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 da, like Natalia did today, that was so beautiful, right? That was so beautiful. And so that's, and Laura, right, and Keith, like shared, like they shared personal stuff, like that's, do that. Bring your questions, bring the comments, dig into the content. That's why it's here, right? That's why I'm here. So I really invite you, like, plug into that, ask questions. It's so much more fun. And I will guarantee you people took more away from all of these questions than me just flapping my lips at you. People want to understand stuff, and they're going to have a similar question to yours. So that's vulnerable, but they're going to have the same question. So be willing, if you can, if it feels safe enough for you, show up and ask a question. You can even join me live. I'm telling you, I'm going to get somebody to do live coaching with me, because that is way fun. Way fun. One of these days. I'll get somebody. It's nerve-wracking. I get it. I don't even know how the hell it works. I'm going to be out. If we do it, I'd be like winging a prayer. No idea. I have no idea. I don't know how it works, I'll be honest. And so I would just try it. But I want to do that. It would be really fun to have somebody come in if they were willing to speak to something and spend some time on something that feels much more pointed, that you guys can all hear that journey, right? Because then it becomes part of your journey. And you're like, oh, this is how the work looks, or oh, this is how I might take another look at this thing. That's what we have in value with one another. So I'm Jen, owner of Laughing Lotus Wellness, your purpose expert. Super excited to be sharing this space with you today. Thank you so much for hanging in and coming and sharing space and sharing of your hearts with me in this community. I hope to see you on Thursday, but I'll be around this week in and out. And like I said, anytime, ask a question, share comments. I'm always open to that. And I really just want to invite you in. Come on in. Come on in. We are all doing this work together, and it's so much better when we lock arms and we're not just doing it like on our own, right? The greatest work is going to come from starting here, but also expanding into accountability with community and sharing that space and that journey. I will guarantee you, last night doing the Yoga Nidra book club on the 4 agreements was money. And already the connections people are making, so cool. So just saying, right? But it's up to you. You get to bring what you want to bring, and you'll take what you bring, right? So it's like, as much as we show up, if we're asking and we're engaged, you're going to take a lot more away than if I'm kind of quiet and I'm a little shy. Like, don't be shy, friends. Don't be shy. No one can see you necessarily, like, unless you want to come on stage with me, so to speak. No one can see you, right? So I invite you to, when you feel like you can, it's safe enough for you to share and ask questions, because I will guarantee you, last night, every person that spoke in group, like, yep, yep, oh yeah, got that one too, yeah, oh yeah, yep, every one of them, every single one of them, right? That's the money. And all these women, where you could tell the stress was coming off, because it was like, oh, we're all doing it. Yep, we're all doing it. We're all doing this work. We have really similar struggles. We're in it together, and that's money. And so it's why this community, why I love Insight Timer, why I love my communities that are online, because we get to do it together. The work is better done together. Okay? All right, blessings, love, and light till next time, friends. I'll be back next Monday, 10:30 live, same bat time, same bat channel, different content. So look for this week. If you're interested in following along, I hope you will. I hope you'll comment and share out and be engaged in that, because I love that so much. That like lights my soul on fire. And we will be back next Monday to do some more work and dig in a little bit more deeply. So I send you guys blessings, love, and light for your week and your journey. And I look forward to seeing you guys next Monday at the same time, 10:30. And hopefully I'll get to see you Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time to talk with Justin Fairman, all things flow. I know you're going to take something away. So, all right, guys, take care. Have a great week. We will see you next time. All right, friends. Peace out.